So good morning, everybody. It's great to see people. People are in flux, and we've had a great time of prayer. And let's jump in for this week. I am really excited about getting to this point because this day is a turning point, and I want to kind of show you about that. Um, and then jump into the lesson. So let me do a share screen. I've got one thing here, and so can y'all see this?
Yes.
I call a major shift of direction. And when the study is done this morning, I'm going to send this to you. So I'm just kind of going over this morning, and then it'll be something to add to your notebook, okay? So up until now, so this morning is a major shift of direction of the whole study that we've had from end of January all through February, and now we're into March, okay? And so all of this that we have been doing up until now has been it has been summarized back on that diagram about the window of tolerance. Remember that one? Back when we were teaching about pain and everything. So this is like the mother lode of the teaching about the brain. So we did teaching about the brain. We taught teaching how survivor mode works, and we taught how to do the stand down drill, how to do the grounding drill. And so for the last several weeks, we've been focused on if you rev up into flight or fight or freeze mode, then we know how to pull ourselves back into the window of tolerance. So that's what this second sentence is talking about. Let me do it, annotate. I don't need that because you see my arrow, right? Okay. So we've been getting used to, okay, let's recognize the sign that we're going into fight or flight. And if you go into fight or flight, then we know, oh, let's do stand down drill, and we do stand down drill to come back into the window of tolerance, okay? And if we notice that our body has begun to shut down, or we notice our emotions are beginning to shut down, then we know, hey, if I need to do grounding drill, I know how to do it, and I do it to go back into the window of tolerance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So last week, talking about medical catastrophes, discussed the time we will almost certainly flip into an extreme form of survivor mode. It's like if there is a situation where you have a medical emergency and have to be on the way to the hospital or something, that is literally life and death. Okay. So it's kind of appropriate that we would, flip into survivor mode at a time when the issues are life and death. Okay. And so it's kind of, if you're on the way to the hospital, then you have a path. You can, go into survivor mode, and now you know how to use stand down and grounding help kind of stabilize you. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
We all with that? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now this week, and you remember we had a short-term goal was, so one of the short-term goals for this year is that, boom, I find myself in flight or fight, I know stand down. Okay, and so as things come up, I know how to remedy going up into flight or fight or going down into freeze. Okay, all right. So now this week we shift gears into the second diagram, which is our long-term goal to widen our window of tolerance, so so that instead of flipping into flight or fight at anything above a 6, do you see on the second diagram, we can go up into 7 or 8 level of stress and still stay with the peace of Christ controlling us. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're working at. Or here, where we would have anything less than a 4, we would flip into freeze. Well, now we're stretching it so that even if we go down into a 3 level, we are staying calm and collected and not flipping into freeze mode. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So today, so for this week and the next 2 weeks, we are doing a specific thing that gives us a plan of how to stretch for each one. So today, what we're talking, we're talking, the topic is about, financial and future things, but it's basically flight mode, okay? Because, worry and anxiety is flight mode, okay? So instead of flipping into worry or anxiety, we deal with what makes you worry so you don't flip at all or flip much less often. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's the goal of today. And then just a little heads up, next week we're going to tackle fight mode. And so instead of flipping quickly into anger or aggression, we deal with what makes you angry and cultivate self-control, or deal with what makes you, highly revved and cultivate, a calmer response. Okay. March 20, we'll tackle freeze mode. And so when I talk about illness and infirmity, those are things which are the territory of freeze mode. Okay. But instead of getting overwhelmed by your body's weaknesses, we learn how to maintain the peace of Christ when you're at low ebb.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense?
Yes.
So I'm just going to give this, send this to you to add to your deal. But any comments or questions before I, pull us out of this?
I think this is awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dee.
Okay. All right. So that gives you a game plan, gives a game plan for this. Okay. So different people have different things that they mainly flip into anxiety and worry over. Okay. Some people, now me, when I do my log entries, I'm talking about the things that flipped me into flight mode. Okay. Worry and anxiety. My area of vulnerability was financial worries, anything where there's not, we have X amount of money at the beginning of the month to pay for all of our expenses during the month. And so I have peace of mind because the money is all coming in as I want. Okay. Or I would have worries about what are we going to do for the future? Okay. Heading into retirement, all of that. So I want to show you how I did it for mine. And I think all of us have some concerns about this, finances and future. Okay, so I'm kind of giving you an idea of how to do it using finances and fears about the future. But if your anxieties are mainly triggered by family situations, then you need to, adapt. There's another step for you, and that is to use, kind of the principles that I used to deal with, okay, how can I not get as stressed about family situations, okay? Or if it is, I don't know, what are some of the other topics that it can be? For some people, it is very much the political theme. I mean, their worries and fears are almost entirely centered on who's winning or losing in politics.
Right.
So there's a tremendous amount of anxiety that's going on for them about politics. Okay, so you need to adapt. Okay, if that's the place that's causing you worry and fear, then you need to figure out some ways to deal with the kind of big picture issues with that, so that you get less spun into worry and fear when there's bad news on the news. Does that make sense?
I
Okay.
think all of this is so related to the what ifs of the future, though.
Yeah.
I think that's where our fear is
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Okay.
based.
All right. So does that give you a kind of a big picture feel for where we're headed and what, how to view this stuff? So, I think, and me just being, this is one of the places where I go, oh, do I want people to know to the level at which, and
Yeah.
and this, it has nothing to do with God providing. It has to do with what I'm worried about, okay, and what I allow myself to worry about, okay. So for me, it tended to be money worries, even though God consistently provides. Okay, so anyway, so that's where we're headed with that. Okay, is that any comments or questions?
Nidhi, I just wanna mention that I learned so much in this lesson, today's lesson, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to do the punchline. I don't want to say what I learned because I don't want to ruin the punchline for today's lesson. I learned something very, very good today.
Well, actually, let's go through things, and I would love your input. This is the whole point of doing this study together, is because whatever it is that you figured out, if it's an aha moment, we love aha moments here. So when you feel like the time is right to jump in and say it, are you on your honor that you will tell us?
Oh, okay.
She's bursting to say it right now.
No,
and she's really holding it in.
Yes.
Okay, so which one is it about?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
Oh.
Until we come to the moment. Yeah, it's wonderful. Actually, it's wonderful. No, thank you for sharing this beautiful lesson.
All right, so let's go to page on 105 is the first one, and we're just going to go quickly through these four. And are you noticing that I'm jumping around?
Yes.
So that, and just on this topic, so that you can get the idea. So we can't talk at length about each one of them, but we'll do what we can. All right. So either by opening to 105 and reading Mark 8. Do you see Mark 8 at the bottom of the page? I think it would be really good for us to start with this is grounded in the word. I don't want to, it's not grounded in my book, it's grounded in the word. So who would like to read that passage just there at the bottom?
Why do you discuss the fact that you have no bread? Are your hearts hardened? Do you not yet see or understand? And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000? How many baskets full of broken pieces you picked up? They say to him, 12. And when I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many large baskets of broken pieces did you pick up? And they say to him, 7. And he was saying, do you not yet understand?
Yeah.
Hard-headed? Let me slap you in the head.
Slap you in the head. Yeah. So this is watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. Okay, so this has been a really okay. So what are the questions for this? What kind of leaven of the Pharisees was Dee Dee facing? In what ways does that variety of unbelief especially trouble many wives and many single women? Okay, so so what did you get for answers?
Your car payment?
Yes, yes, the car payment.
Well, we get lured into the idea that while we're young, we will find a way out and we can provide for ourselves. And the older we get, the more we realize that we have certain limitations, especially many times it starts to become bodily.
Yeah.
Limitations as well as opportunities. And we start realizing that we don't have as many options to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Myself, I'm, being a widow, I have to take care of myself.
Yes.
And as I was sharing last week, the Lord has taken care of me up to now.
Yeah.
But I think, in that is a prevailing thought of what's going to happen. Again, what if? The future.
The future. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Dee Dee, it just becomes real. I think that's just the word, it just becomes real to you, what really you have to do responsibility wise, right?
Yeah. You mean, are you meaning like it becomes sobering that it is up to you, that you do need to provide? Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, it becomes passes on to being, that reality that, it's not just going to go away, right? It's there. It's your duty. It's something that you have to do. And it's something that you have to provide, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think for us that are single or alone, that you don't have anyone to bounce it off of. So you feel in total, what do I do? Confusion, result, it's all on my shoulders, so.
Aloneness.
Yeah, the aloneness, you don't have anyone just to bounce it off, whether they give you an answer or not. You just want to bounce it off your significant other or somebody, so.
Yes. And it's not something that you can, well, I'll handle this part of it and you handle that part of it.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have anyone to share it with.
Yeah. So that can be a very heavy weight. Yes. Okay. So,
Can I say something about that? This is not at all to diminish that statement. It's just something I have learned about myself. I like to talk through everything. So this actually, that trigger has become a trigger for me to realize that I need to probably get into a drill. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because as soon as I feel like I need to call someone, I need to call my mom, I need to call my sister, then I'm thinking, okay, if I'm trying to tell someone, I'm going to start by telling the Lord. So what you're saying is 100% valid, but that I just wanted to share has been my trigger to do my drills.
Very much.
good.
Thank you. That was great.
And that relates to pretty much anything, right? If every time you have a worry or anxiety, you have an urge to call your best friend or to, text somebody or immediately to bemoan what's going on with somebody, that's a tip off. We need to do a drill. Yeah. Or at least this is something where, and did you see this? Look, this, I wasn't at the starting gate of learning to have the Lord take care of financial needs. Okay. And because I had already had a long time, from reading all of the studies. Oh, let me show you. This is my This is my thing of financial
Oh,
log.
I want to see it. Oh, that red ink.
Okay, so
I
in
love it.
black is the request, and I found the page that was about the financial, about that. So it's like, so when we got a bill for the ambulance that was over $2,800, the ambulance to go from Imperial Highway up to Zion, you know, and we're perfectly fine on the road, you know, in our car. Yeah. And so because they said to stop and we stopped, they were going to charge $2,800. And so we're thinking, oh my gosh, what, you know, so there's that. And then there's the hospital stay, and then the next day to do the angiogram. And so I'm, you know, so this would be triggering a lot of, if this is an area of vulnerability. And so here, the answer to prayer is that when we finally got the bill, it was only $285
Oh my God.
and it was only $200 for the ambulance, and it was only $250 for the angiogram, and we paid it all off the next month. Even when I'm having on February 28th, I'm worried about the car payment.
Uh-huh.
And what the Lord did was he not only gave me the money for the car payment, but he also provided all the money. I mean, it was just kind of no big deal that he answered the bigger deal. I've only got $200 for the car payment, and I need another, you know, $135. And so he's going, okay, I'm giving you that, but he's also giving me $735 the same month, you know, no problem.
The extra baskets there.
Right? So this is month after month of, I mean, it is month after month. So you say something that whatever it is that is your area of vulnerability, I really suggest having this thing of, okay, here's the worry that I put down in black, and then here's the answer to that when I prayed about it and didn't stress about it, turned it over, here's what the solution was. Okay, and this thing has taught me, okay, so that when I get this thing on the what.
Didi, did you notice that you only have one line of a petition, but the response is like a 5 or 6 lines of your answer to the request? It's unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah, it's like it takes a while to write it down. So yeah, and I also write down promises or click in my spirit. You know, so on 105 it says, on the what happened, the realization of the shortfall had thudded into my mind this morning. Time stood still while I weighed my response. Am I going to go into worry, or am I going to find peace? A half-formed worry hovered at the fringes of my mind, ready to leap into action. Into that pause, I invited the God of peace to show me how to up the ante, because I'm tending toward worry. Okay, and so what he's saying, here he's saying, watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. Into that pause where I've already had a lot of training, and now he's saying, okay, we're going to up the ante. Okay, watch out, don't into worry. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want, in your story, I want you to pay attention to what you've already learned, okay? Because we're not starting at ground zero with these, you know, all of us, everyone that is listening to this or watching this already has history, right? Where God has shown you some things. Okay, so anyway, all right, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so did anybody watch the monkey business illusion?
Gosh,
Hmm?
Yeah.
did you?
Yes.
Okay, what was that like?
You know what, Didi? I don't, for some reason, I have seen that before. I don't remember when. So when they asked you to look at the passing of the balls, I nailed it. I counted 16. But because I was focusing on that, I didn't distract myself on the passing when the monkey was passing walking by. But now when the to go back and to look for the curtains and all the stuff and everything, but I do recall when seeing that video that I focused on the monkey and completely lost track of the counting and everything. So and that's true. Like it's very easy to get distracted, to get off track. But and this time because I have previously I remember I don't probably in a class or something I counted right. But if I would do it the first time, I think I would completely get distracted and complete lost track and focus of what exactly was asked to do.
If you haven't done it, go Google it. And I don't know if there's enough. I don't think there's enough time to go do it. And I don't know if me watching, viewing that somebody else's stuff would not be kosher for me to do. So I'm not going to do that. So anyway, yeah, sorry about that.
Here it is. Didi, I think it's okay if we're live like this. I think it's when it's not okay is that if you're including it in some sort of a conference or something where it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, but I think when it's like this.
I put it up on YouTube. And so because I recorded and uploaded, I just want to stay kosher. So,
Absolutely.
So please do go and watch that because it makes a really good point. So if I'm on the lookout for things to worry about, I will find things to worry about, right? In the trust training Bible study, we had the same point, right? Banana slugs, right?
Yes.
Right? Remember the banana slugs?
Yeah.
If you're looking for banana slugs, you'll find banana slugs.
Yeah.
So
there's a story, it's really quick. It just says 2 birds are flying over the same desert. One of them is a vulture and the other one's a hummingbird. Both of them are looking for something. And both of them find what they're looking for.
Yeah.
The hummingbird is looking for a flower and he'll find it. And the vulture is looking for a dead body and he finds it. It all depends on what you're looking for.
Yes. Great illustration. Yes. Words from the wise, kind of. Yeah.
Not mine.
Okay.
Not mine.
All right. Okay. So what's the thing in this story that Jesus gives to the, when he's talking to the disciples? What is he saying? Okay, focus like a laser on this. So what's he telling them to focus like a laser on?
Leftovers.
Leftovers. What would leftovers look like?
Abundance.
Yes. Yes, it's me.
Paying your ambulance.
Paying for it's like not only did I not have to worry about coming up with $2,800, but the Lord provided the 200, without any, I don't even know what happened. I mean, do you have those times where there's financial provision and you look back and you go, wait a minute, I didn't even notice how that happened. How did he take care of that? So it's that kind of thing. Yeah. All right. So that's what I'm thinking is on keeping track is to not only keep track of the answer to prayer, but also, okay, what was the leftovers? So for me, the leftovers was that, hey, and he paid for the whole hospital stay.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. The comment on 107, did you notice that on 107 where I said God was gracious to me in not, dumping the truck?
Yeah.
If if he had said this to me when I was, back doing church planting and just starting out with this, I would have felt so guilty that I wouldn't have been able to make forward progress. So I want to encourage you, whatever it is that the Lord is teaching you, take the next step, okay? But if this one gets you worried or stressed out of, oh boy, I shouldn't even be worrying about finances. I just want you to take the next step, okay?
Well, this is a training. What he's doing is he's training us one step at a time.
Yes, this is a classic example of trust training.
Exactly.
Classic example. Okay, speaking of which, let's go over to March 6th. Did you like the whole, does anybody know about Lamaze training?
Sure.
Huh?
Oh, yes.
You remember that?
Oh, yes.
Any of you do that back in the day?
Yep.
I didn't, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I get it.
She did it. I didn't do it. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah. Well, but isn't it astonishing when you think back on it? That it was exactly teaching you a drill.
Yeah,
It was exactly teaching you a drill.
it was.
Yeah.
Focus.
The focal point, focus on the focal point, and this kind of breathing, depending on where you are in labor.
Right.
It's just like right on. And there you have the Lamaze partner, and
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be your spouse, but if it wasn't your spouse, then it was your good friend or your mom or somebody that would come in and would be the one to keep you on track. All right, so there you've got pilot.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it.
Huh?
I said, I love it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, so what did we say about, in what way are these drills an example of trust training?
Anybody?
Well, I think having gone through trust training, that I find this personally, specifically number 2 in trust training, every time I'm doing a drill, it's something given to me by God to help me learn how to open up my window of tolerance. So we're just kind of swapping out words here, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I'm viewing these times.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah, and this is a season of practicing it this way. This isn't necessarily from now on till the end of time to do it this way. Okay. However, for me, I went through. I had focus for the whole year, and then focus while I was doing writing the book. And then I got out of the habit, and then I was having trouble maintaining the peace of Christ, to let the peace of Christ rule. And then after a while, realizing, wait a minute, I've lost the big picture nugget. And the Lord really showed me, you know what? To let the peace of Christ rule in my heart needs to be a lifelong thing. And for me, because there was so much training that went into how to let the peace of Christ rule, and we're just starting out. We're not going to, I mean, you ain't seen nothing yet, okay, on letting the peace of Christ rule. So, we're going to go into focusing on pilot and refining pilot. We're just going to do a bunch of things, okay? But the drills kind of get you back on the track of letting the peace of Christ rule. Because, and so after a while, I realized, I'm not doing the peace of Christ ruling. So I need to start at the beginning and do drills that help me to get back to it. Okay, so anyway, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Did I have what I found on this on March 6th? Basically, the drills are basically a training exercise of faith buildup. So that's basically it. Those are our tools.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. It's not the only tool, you know, but it's the whole idea of trust training. You have a season, the Lord gives you a tool, you use the tool, and the whole goal is to trust the Lord more, right? To trust the Lord more in financial situations, you know, in my case. Okay. Yes. All right. Yes. Okay. Okay. I think we've handled that one. How about March 18? This is on 116. Okay.
You know, I like the chart that you put at the bottom of page 110.
Yes.
Because it's, and I like the way you broke it up, because it says you must rid yourself of all these things. And it's not a matter of putting a guilt trip on us, putting guilt on us. It's a matter of the fact that we can do it. If he's telling us you must rid yourselves, which means it can be done.
Yes.
Did I miss something? Did we do that one?
What?
I think I missed that one. Is March 8th?
Oh, March 8. Do we?
That,
No, we're doing that right now, Luisa.
Okay.
oh, that's what I'm saying. Was that one this week? I didn't read that. I guess I missed
March 8 is for next week. So
Well, I read it anyway. I love it.
that's okay. Yeah. But it's very much okay, we're gonna up the ante on fight mode. Okay. Okay. So March 18 is on 116. Okay. All right. So how are we? This is
I have a question because it does go back to what we already talked about, but it's in here the most. Can you kind of explain this beware the leaven of the Pharisees a little more? Because I don't fully get it.
okay. Okay. So let's go back to, which one is that? February 28th. Okay. Okay. What is it that you're finding hard to understand?
So this leaven of the Pharisees, what does that phrase mean?
Okay. Well, on 105, right below the you know, things in bold. Okay.
So is that unbelief? Does basically that translate into unbelief of whatever place? Because the Pharisees had unbelief towards Jesus. So
Yeah.
you're using that. Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Yes, when I saw beware the leaven of the Pharisees, I immediately Googled it, and it gave me two, you know, I mean, it's listed several times, but it's two basic situations. One is the leaven of the Pharisees, where Jesus did a miracle and they didn't believe him. And they, you know, I mean, they got angry at him for healing. And so he said, beware the leaven of the Pharisees. So it's unbelief when he does a miracle and they say, la, 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 you know,
Yeah.
okay, that's unbelief.
Got it.
And so that is a kind of unbelief that a non-Christian has that goes, la, 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 yeah, you're telling me that the Lord provides for you. But I just don't believe it. Or, you know, people who cut out the miracles in the Gospels because they, well, I just don't believe that he did that stuff. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one kind of unbelief. And it's not doubting, it's saying it's unbelief.
Got it.
On this situation, he's saying you got the kind of unbelief that you see that God fulfills, you know, provides for you. But then when a new thing comes up, you immediately jump as if you never had any miracle happen. And so your default is to not believe.
Got it.
Okay, and then you,
Sorry, I totally read it and I guess it just didn't click in my brain,
oh,
but that's perfect.
question. Yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah, our doggies went out.
That's okay.
Okay,
All right.
I get it.
Okay, that makes sense?
Totally makes sense. So then that translates into this manna one, which is why I just wanted to make sure I understood it fully before we went into this one.
Yes. Now, Manna Time uses the diagram that's at the bottom of the class notes. Okay, and it looks like this, and it's saying, we think about, we want to live in normal time all the time. And so in that, there is this idea that God provides indirectly through normal channels. Pagans, non-believers, everybody. A normal way that God provides for people is by giving you a job. In providing the job, you got security at the job, or you'll get a pension, you know. And so the way that God provides for our future, for retirement, is we build up savings or pension, you know, or investments, and that's the way that God's going to provide. Yeah. Okay. So then, but when you go into, when all of those dry up, then we're in manna time. And I think that just the idea of understanding that we are, that there is this below the time of you know, normal way of God providing, that there's this other whole section that we go into manna time. Okay, is that a cool new thought? Okay.
It definitely is. So, but you realize that you have God every time in manna, in regular and in normal time. So you realize you're always under His providence, under His side.
Yes.
So that is beautiful. The manna time is beautiful.
The deal about normal, when God provides indirectly through the job and through, you know, extra work at Christmas and through, you know, getting an inheritance or whatever, is that we tend to put our trust in the job. And so if that job gets, you know, so if it's going to go under, or if we're going to lose our job, see, the worry is that we've been putting our complete trust in the job. Okay. And so, but with that, so part of the lesson is to see that really God is the one providing the job. Okay. And God providing the inheritance. So with normal times, we're understanding, and it takes a while to figure that out.
Yeah.
Which is why people who get a job right out of high school and stay at the same job clear to retirement, if they have very, very shallow faith regarding God providing, because God has always provided through something that's really, you know, you got, you know, I've got my years in, and I've, you know, I can, you know, see the runway to retirement, and I'm going to have this much pension. And so it's like, why are they even needing to trust God for anything? Because they're trusting the job. And they're okay. So when we have a little bit of financial distress, the lesson of that is to go, dude, don't put your trust in the job. Put your trust in the Lord who provided the job.
That's the whole point, Dee Dee, that most people, and even us as believers, they don't know, but we forget that whatever that we're being provided through, it comes from God. Yeah. It doesn't come from our own abilities. It doesn't come from our own smarts. It doesn't come because I've got a college education. It has to do with God. Yeah. 100%. He provides for all creation.
Yeah,
He provides for the birds, he provides for the animals, he provides for everybody, and he provides for us. And yet we have swallowed the poison of, I'm so smart, I'm so, capable, I'm so this, that's why I have this good job. Consequently, if we lose the good job, everything comes crashing down around our ears.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what I found out with this is and I even highlighted, because in your draw, you say that in the normal time, yeah, God provides indirectly, as you mentioned. He used his soldiers around on earth to and angels to provide. But in manna time, when we're completely frustrated with anxiety, he completely takes the things on his own hands.
Yeah,
It's when his presence is completely direct to you, and it's more beautiful if you
Yeah.
see it. If you realize, like in the hardest time, is when God is the most precious moment, because it's when God takes the things on His own hands.
yes,
So that is what I see it like in the maritime. Even though we are struggling, but if you sit a little bit and think about it, it's the most beautiful time.
yeah, yeah. Now, is manna, caviar and
No.
and whole foods?
I know.
No, it's what's
No.
this?
It's like there's an element of
Ramen and.
eating to humble yourself. Manna fell on the ground. I mean, it's very humbling. So it's not necessary. It's providing bread and meat for Elijah that the birds probably didn't put in the nicest places. Okay, so he has to go get it. All right, but it's directly provided by the Lord. Okay. Yeah. So, all right, does that make sense?
Yes, very much
It's a
so.
cool idea. Now, I did devotionals on this, and I don't know. I feel like there's a bunch of places where I put it. Would you like me to send you things on Manna Time devotionals?
Please.
Because there's just a bunch of things that I figured out about manna. So I could send that to you if you would like. So because I see that we're running out of time. But I think this idea of until you've been in a time where everything has fallen out, you really don't discover that there's this whole level underneath. It's kind of the safety net. Manna time is like the safety net when you go down and there's nothing, okay? That there's always this safety net, and that God is not at all constrained to provide for you only through a job. And I think that's just amazing. He's not limited in how he provides for you. And I think that's kind of the aha moment. And until you go into times that are manna time, you really don't understand that it's there. Okay. And so anyway, so this is cool. All right, just to let you know that it's there. Okay, so now the what ifs. So I did a devotional on this whole topic and this diagram. What are the lessons? What are the questions for this? So now let's switch over to April 30. That's on page 137.
137.
Have you read the book Screwtape Letters?
No, I have it at home, and with a move, I put it to one side to read it before I moved. I moved, and now I can't find it, and it's in one of the boxes. Still.
Yeah. It's an amazing book.
Yes.
and it's a classic. I think it's one of the books that everybody should. Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, this in letter 15, Wormwood and Screwtape, should he keep the human preoccupied with the past or the future? And Screwtape commented that humans live in time, but our enemy destined them for eternity. He therefore, I believe, wants them to attend chiefly to two things: to eternity itself and to that point in time which they call the present. For the present is the point at which time touches eternity. Okay. All right. And and then, well, which is better, to keep them focused on the past or on the future? And you know, so this demon is saying, you know what? Either way, if you're preoccupied by the past, that's great for our purposes because it keeps the person away from thinking about the Lord in the present moment.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or think about the future, their future life. That's great. And then that's where he says thoughts about the future inflame hope and fear. Also, it is unknown to them. So in making them think about it, we make them think about unrealities.
Yeah, I like that.
In a word, the future is of all things, the things least like eternity. It is the most completely temporal time, for the past is frozen and no longer flows, and the present is all lit up with eternal rays. And I think that I put on this, let's go down to the next page. So here's the picture of it. So what two parts of time does God want us to focus our attention on?
Present and eternity.
Okay, so here's this. So this is now, right here, and this is now.
Yeah.
For God, this is now. All right. So here's where it says the past is frozen, and the future is full of unrealities. Okay. Why is the future filled with unrealities? Why is it of all things the least like eternity?
Because we don't know what the future holds.
Yes.
And what we're doing, again, it's in realities, because they say that 90% or more that we fear in the future never happen.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. So the future is this little section right here. And what are some of the things that makes it the least real?
You might die today.
Yes. Here's today, and this future that I've got as a big box, the same. Well, I actually might die right here.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Or I might die right here and never, you know. I mean, yesterday I was listening to a podcast about doing retirement, and I got kind of feeling bad because I thought, oh man, you know, how long is it going to be, and you know, that kind of thing. And I'm thinking that's stupid because you know I might get hit by a bus tomorrow, and I'm having a wonderful time now, and all of the things that might happen. Well, if I die tomorrow, they won't happen. You know, it's like
Right.
okay,
I gotta say, I really struggled with this.
okay.
Sorry, I don't know. They're translating, so do you want me to wait? Give it a sec. Okay. Sorry, I'm hearing both languages and my brain's doing both.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was us.
It's okay. It's okay. I struggled a lot with this, and it still feels unanswered to me,
Yes.
because in the real now, only here am I free to act or prepare wisely. And so that was a struggle for me for this chapter, for the mana chapter, because my question is, for me, what I view as preparing wisely, others might view as anxiety or whatever the case would be. So I find I'm really struggling with this section
Okay,
because, you know, I understand right away. My mind went to Matthew 6. There's the whole end of the chapter is all about anxiety, right?
right.
And so it's difficult to live in a place of reality for me of not every day, but if the time comes, like you're saying, an ambulance bill comes. So living in that reality of between now and that bill actually arrives, over preparing, trying to be wise, overly wise, etc. That's what I'm thinking, but not everyone. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. What is the difference between preparing wisely and living in unreality?
Can I add to that? Can I add something, a question maybe too? Like, for example, the planning, ahead, or people that, don't even have an insurance,
Yeah,
Yeah.
medical insurance, because they say, I am trusting in God for my health.
yes,
And so where other people would say, but this is irresponsible, you have to prepare, you have to prepare ahead. And so that difference, I think I'd like to add that to her question too. Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's emphasizing the word wisely.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that are presumptuous and live totally in the now and don't prepare wisely. So that's why this is added in here, that there is a responsibility to anticipate logical things that are likely to happen, and if there is a way of preparing wisely, and that's the preparing wisely is the whole thing of getting the little hammer for the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a thing of saying, okay, is it likely to ever happen that our car would go off the cliff into water and that we would need to get out of the car and it's submerged in water? Well, okay, what are the chances of that happening? It's like what, 1 or 2% chance, right? But if I can go and buy a $10 thing and have it in the car, well, I have done something to prepare wisely that it didn't take me too much money to do, and I'm ready. I mean, the thing is in the car.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's preparing wisely. So how can I do that? So instead of worrying, oh my gosh, maybe someday I will, our car will go off the road into water and be submerged in water. See, I stopped the worry. Okay, do you see that? By buying the little gadget.
So if I can get a little more narrow, just to help me understand. So for example, you're living in a time where there's money in the bank,
Yes,
but something's happening. I'm going to use your example. I know I just went to the hospital. I know I'm going to have an ambulance bill. I know I'm going to have whatever bills. There's money in the bank to cover it, but it's going to deplete me when those bills come.
yes,
So my thought process is don't spend money. To me, that's preparing wisely. It's saying, okay, sure, there's going to be 2 paychecks in between now and when I receive that bill, but I shouldn't eat out. I should, that is preparing wisely to me.
yeah,
But then I've had the flip side where someone will say, true, but you're going to have 2 more checks. So why are you stressing out? Just go get Chick-fil-A. That sounds so basic, but I feel a little bit, I don't know.
I'm not having a problem with the way that you're thinking about it.
Okay.
If you know that you have a bill coming up, why not be wise and not go to Chick-fil-A?
Okay.
I mean, that's $20 more that you could spend on the ambulance bill.
Okay. That's what I'm thinking. So then in my specific scenario, I guess the anxiety then plays in when another member of my family goes to Chick-fil-A twice that week and I'm sitting here pinching pennies, but maybe that's the level of anxiety of the future.
Okay, so then that's the place for you to be, the bottom line is that that we want to widen our window of tolerance so we
Okay.
stop worrying about as much as we can stop worrying about
Okay.
and stop
Okay.
having anxiety. Okay, if you are saving up money and not going to Chick-fil-A, but you're having anxiety, then you miss the point. You might as well go to Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
It'll be less expensive, let me tell you. Ulcers are more expensive.
You're telling this to a girl who had one when she was 13, so.
Yeah, well, it's still more expensive. I don't care how old you were.
Yeah.
And
No,
I just,
I am, that's extremely helpful, Dee Dee, because that fully answers my question.
Yeah.
It's about
I
my
also-
window of tolerance.
Yeah.
sorry, can I also point something out? I was looking at Matthew 6 right now.
Yes.
And in verse 31, so says, so do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear? For the pagans run after all of these things. What do we run after? We run after things when we think that we can't live without them.
Yeah.
And it goes on and says, but your heavenly Father knows that you need them. In other words, it's okay to go on ahead and in this way, put aside for a rainy day, but we're not running after that. And your example, Lisa, of not going to Chick-fil-A so that you put those $7 away, that's running after, at least, I mean, unless you really fight for money, then don't go out and make your own Chick-fil-A at home. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Thank you, Diana. That's a really good point. And I think that the big question is, what is it in that situation that is causing you to worry? Because I think the bigger deal is, I see the bill, you see the bill down the line, and then somebody else is going to Chick-fil-A. Okay, that needs to be a place where, okay, God, can I wrap my brain around the fact that that my, husband or my child or somebody is going to go to Chick-fil-A anyway, and that I'm going to choose to not, and know that you're going to, are we okay? What's this?
Yeah, you just got,
What was that
I-
noise?
I think it's somebody's phone.
Oh,
I think that's absolutely helpful because the issue boils down to individual. That's what I'm hearing.
yes, yes,
And I think this is going to help me moving forward because just understanding, if I look at it in the realm of window of tolerance, that just hearing you say that shifted something in my brain where I can understand that I am preparing wisely. Why am I thinking about tomorrow? And that person doing that action perhaps is giving me a chance to open my window.
yes, yes. And to say that, you know what, can I wrap my brain around the fact that I am preparing wisely? I am doing wise things. I'm not messing around. I'm not messing up. But can I wrap my brain around the fact that God can handle both my wise preparation and some screwball going off and doing Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Okay. And
It's funny because
instead of getting all revved up, say, you know what, God, you can provide even if somebody does Chick-fil-A. All right.
understood.
Does that make sense? All right.
Totally. And it's funny because I read this ahead of time. My mom has not read it yet. And we were talking this morning and she described her version of manna time without knowing I had just been reading about this. And she said, sometimes, we were very poor when I was little, right? And we're at a different place in life now. And she said, sometimes it's very difficult for people when God has always been providing, they get really hung up as soon as there's not. And that she was kind of giving me her idea of manna time without, especially coming from a background where you have been poor, it's tough to get out of a mindset, you know?
Yeah. And to remember, when you were really poor, you went without.
That's exactly what we said. Yes.
God provided.
Yes.
And
Provided.
he didn't provide everything. I mean,
That's right.
you know, Matthew 6 that we were just talking about, he's guaranteeing food and clothes.
That's right. And that doesn't mean 3 changes of clothes. It might mean 2.
You got it, Fred.
Which,
Yeah.
you know, here in America, well, okay, it must include the payment on my second car, you know. I mean, right? So,
Right.
so we need to be really watching what it is. But on the other hand, you know, the Lord does provide. You know, he provided the car payment, even though my way of paying for the car payment was totally set aside. He provided for the car payment. Okay, and the same thing. So I think this is the idea of, okay, I need to be. I think this is one of the lessons that I got out of this year that has stuck with me more than any other lesson. And it's that if the words "what if" comes out of my mind as something that I'm stewing over, well, what if this happens? Then just having that word, I'm going, okay, all right, hold the phone. Okay, I don't know if that what if is gonna happen. That's in the future, that's in the unrealities, and is that what if something that for Louisa, yes, there's a ambulance bill coming next month, and so I need to prepare for it. Okay, so I'm preparing for it. But if it's something that, oh, what if, my family is stranded and taken for ransom by terrorists in, Costa Rica? Well, chances of that happening are pretty small. So anyway, all right, does that make sense?
Yes.
So I put all of those. If the words "what if" comes out of my mouth, this is what I go to. Okay, Barbara.
Yeah, this is where I wanted to come up at the beginning. Yes.
Finally.
It's unbelievable how enlightening this chapter was because I just want to share this with you, Luisa, that I should experience the same. As you know, on November we had the COVID on my family and my husband went to the hospital. So this beginning of this month started the billings to build up. And of course, some the insurance did not pay, even though I have pay a very high insurance, like PPO. The most expensive is the one that I have in the less coverage that you can expect from them. So, and I say, I'm not going to worry. My husband, what, 1,700, 600, 800? Because doctor, hospitals, you know what, I'm not going to, this, it will not take me my sleep off. And my husband is not sleeping, he's waking up, and I say, I'm not, Lord, you know what? As long I refuse to pay, I'm gonna pay whatever in payments or whatever. I'm not going to take my easy and my peace. But guess what, Luisa? One of the most expensive bills that I got, and I praise the Lord for that. First of all, because in this beginning of the year, I received a bonus that I was not expecting. So unfortunately, we live in California, half of it is taxes and the rest, but still it helps to cover it. And second, and one of the biggest expense bill is I was able to, there's a company, the middleman with my insurance, another company that they negotiate the pricing, so they're gonna reduce the price of the highest bill. So those things that I'm mentioning to you, I started with, because before knowing the Lord, I had these struggles with the financing and working and everything. And 2 times they took me to the hospital for anxiety attack. After knowing the Lord and after being with Dee and Dee, my friends over here, I have learned to trust little by little in God. And this is, and it's not going to take my peace. And you see how God is working? Yeah. He's giving me this and this and this. But what I just want to say that do not worry. Do not worry, Lisa. Do not worry. Just trust the Lord. Trust the Lord. I'm telling you, for the most sinner person that you can is me. It's like I've been receiving so mercy with God. But this is not what I want to say. What I learned of this is how unbelievable to learn to only to worry in our present, aiming on the eternity.
Yeah.
The future. Right now, my mom and my family have struggles on the future because we live in an apartment. We want to buy a house. We're stuck with a lot of things. And this what I got from it. You know what? I'm going to worship and now for today. And even I highlighted over here this part that I love the most. On my present, I'm walking. I am with the holy I am. So if we walk every day with us with the holy and the greatest I am every day,
Yeah.
you don't need to worry at all.
Yeah.
You need to worry at just is walking with God every day. It will easy and will bring your peace every day, and do not to worry about the future. We need to worry mostly on the eternity. We need to worry on that, not on the future, on the eternity. What we do right now. Mhm.
And I'd like to offer something, sort of, the do not worry verse that's in Philippians is like, it says with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, make your request known to God. So I find that like, if I always look back and remember that, like, you know, when my husband drained $20,000 out of his IRA, when we moved home to be close to my family in a small town where nobody wanted to pay him what he was worth to cut their hair, and we didn't want for a single thing the whole time we were there. Or if I remember that, you know, during COVID, we were shut down 3 times, but we have more money now than we ever have in our lives, even though he worked almost, you know, like a third of the year. You know, when things come up and we remember God's faithfulness, it eases our minds when we remember that he's consistent in his promises.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Good word, Carla. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Any other comments? Love these comments. Thank you. Yeah. And I like that you got my I am with I am, you know, it's like, you know, me in present, I am, and God in present, you know, him being the great I am. He brings great peace if we can bring ourselves into the present moment. Yeah. So that's cool. Yes. Good. Any other comments?
I think that if when we're struggling with fear or worry or something, that we can just remember that we can add something to the I am. I am provider.
Yes.
I am doctor.
Mhm.
I am love.
Mhm.
I am peace. I am, the list goes on. Because what isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lovely thought. I think that's a good thought to kind of wrap up our time with, is if I come into the present moment and I'm acting wisely, you know, Louise has given good examples of acting wisely and, you know, not being a good steward during the normal time of what the Lord gives us, so that, you know, we are prepared for a rainy day, as much as we can be. Then the Lord gives us, you know, when we're in alignment with him, yes, he provides today, he gives peace today, he gives wisdom today, he gives healing today. He's our shepherd, you know, today. Yeah, there's just a totally different way of interacting with the Lord, isn't there? When we come present. And don't you love the idea of you don't need to be worrying about the past. Okay, you focus on the present. And I think for me, the big aha moment for me is that I only have to trust God for my one actual life. You know, all the things on the internet are not going to happen to Dee Dee.
Mhm.
Okay, there are some things that are going to happen to Dee Dee, you know, the rest of the time that I'm here, but not anywhere near all the stuff you can Google.
Yeah. True.
There's no way that all of that will happen to me. And I think that kind of clearing out that I don't have to trust him if we get COVID. I don't have to trust him for this. I don't have to, because, you know, I mean, you know, we've come through that. And I don't have to trust him for leukemia and for epilepsy and for this kind of, you know, I only have to trust him for the things that come up day by day. Okay. And if I stick with that, then it makes it much easier to have, to handle having trust. Okay.
I like what you said here. This is just to wrap it up.
Yeah.
On page 138, right before it says, I hear the Lord's quiet reassurance. It said here, nevertheless, each person should live as a believer in whatever situation God has assigned
Yes.
to them. And you said that in trust training as well, that God has a purpose and a plan. And we've got to understand that whatever is assigned to us.
Yeah.
And so many times we struggle with that when things don't go as we think they should go.
Yeah. Okay.
I heard, oh, just real quick, there's a podcast I listen to, and this guy, like, I mean, he lost his wife super young. He's remarried now. He had cancer. His child had cancer, and like people always ask him, like, oh, I would never be able to do that. And he said something that was like, it has helped me so much with, like, you know, worrying about your family being kidnapped by terrorists in Costa Rica, like that kind of stuff, where it's just like, God doesn't give hypothetical grace. He gives grace in accordance to the need.
There you go.
And his grace is sufficient. So when we come up across those things, there's no way we're going to be able to anticipate handling them, because we can't handle them, because we need God's grace to handle them. And,
Yeah.
you know, and that's something he promises his grace is sufficient for us, but we can do it with him, but we can't anticipate it.
I love that. I think it's another way of saying the exact same thing of this diagram. I love that. That's really great. Good. Any other last comments? We went a little bit long, but we were covering a bunch of things. I love your insights. This was really great. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going to stop the recording now. If anybody, one last chance, if anybody wants to say something. Okay.